Well, good morning, everybody. Not you, OJ. Go look at birds, please. You have been tearing up all my notes and everything. I love my kitty. I do. Oh, thank you. I love my kitty, but I don't need the kitty up here right now. That's okay. How is everyone doing? What a weekend. Woo. My goodness. There was tornadoes everywhere. And I don't just mean in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, and Iowa. Damn. Old no-ass decided to be the Kool-Aid man over on Web Sleuths. My goodness, we're going to go through part of it today. Because I'm not going to go through any clickbait lectures or just a bunch of stating the obvious. My goodness. Throughout the show, some shows we talk in third person. Put in chat what is crystal clear to you without violating HIPAA. Please don't ever violate HIPAA. You know the nasty words around YouTube. Dox. I've been doxed. I've been doxed. And now we have HIPAA violation. What to do? My goodness. Now I can't see the poll, so you'll have to tell me what you think. Again, we're not going to violate HIPAA. We're just going to put in, as we go through things, what is crystal clear to you? What is crystal clear to me is that no ass is full of himself. And that the working together didn't work out because it never happened. I mean, it never happened. And we called it last week. Again, we have been reminded there is no criminal investigation. Some people say that is just like Summer Wells. Nope, nope, nope. Summer Wells is an active criminal investigation because they can't rule out foul play. We have heard from the private investigators, not just on Web Sleuths, but on Surviving the Survivor. And all of this went down because, according to No-Ass, he saw a comment that triggered him. Did the comment violate HIPAA? I still need to know. Let's take a second and tell everybody happy Monday, if there is such a thing. Welcome your neighbor. And look at that. There's our friend HDC. That's me. That says, I'm so happy I called in sick today. Is that a HIPAA violation, HDC? We have quite a few medical professionals in here. The only person that doesn't on this planet. We know there's plenty of people that don't understand what doxing is. And we just go with the flow. We're like, whatever. Just like there's people that don't understand what friggin' stalking is. That's okay. We just go with the flow. But I would say the only person on YouTube that doesn't understand HIPAA would be No-Ass. All right. A lot of you reached out to me over the weekend, and some of you, I reached out to you. I actually put a picture up on the members tab of a tornado that was coming through actually south of us. Well, look at you Cat's Hodgepodgery, you've been a member for 11 months. My, does time not fly? As Candace says, I lose track of time when I'm having fun. Well, we have fun in a different way. So this is what's going on in Oklahoma.
More south to the Oklahoma City metro. Early reports and videos show the small town of Sulphur had its entire downtown area flattened. That's where we're joined by Brody Myers this morning. Brody, have you been able to speak to anyone out there, and what are you seeing there this morning?
I have been able to speak to a few folks, Julie. I spoke first with the Red Cross set up at a local church here. That was about 6:45 a.m. They told me at that moment that downtown was blocked off because crews were still performing search and rescue missions all these hours later. You can see behind me the downtown area. To the right, that giant red brick building, that is the Artesian Hotel, a gorgeous resort owned and operated by the Chickasaw Nation, which has their reserve down here in this part of the state. Go a little bit to the left, you see a building, what looks like a parking garage right now, but I'm told it is not a parking garage. That is the Chickasaw Telecommunications building. And then a little bit more to the left, you see a little bit of openness. A neighbor told me that is an apartment complex, and it looks severely damaged from our vantage point, probably about half a mile away from the main downtown area. Crews have it blocked off like Fort Knox right now. They're continuing the search and rescue. We can see some red and blue lights down there. There is a tree blocking this intersection. As we've been set up for this live shot, cars have been coming back and forth trying to get there. I spoke with one homeowner who tried to get back to their home near the downtown area, and they said they were told by responders that it will probably be tomorrow at the earliest before they can get here. Right now, just as we're talking, there's one person trying to get there and can't. This is a town settled just off the Arbuckle Mountains here in southeast Oklahoma. There's a chill in the air, and there's a quiet on this town right now. They tell me the reality hasn't set in yet, but it will in the days to come. Reporting in Sulphur, I'm Brody Myers, 2 News, Oklahoma.
And a lot of people, which I love you to death, ask if there's anything that we need. We are fine. But later this afternoon, I'm going to go meet a truck here in our area. This is 2 hours south of us in Sulphur, Oklahoma. So I'm just going to bring water. Red Cross is bringing out clothes and stuff because I don't know, what sizes or anything. And snacks for the kids, stuff like that. So I'm going to meet them over there. But no, we don't need anything. But I appreciate you asking. Okie Bree said it's so hard to watch. Oh, it is. And normally I sleep through those bastards. But it was a little different story Saturday night. All right, reality wins. Says narcissists don't do therapy. If this is not a true statement, they are also the type of people that even when they screw the pooch, they'll blame the pooch. They'll make themselves the victim after they've screwed the pooch. Somehow they have it in their DNA, in their chemistry. When they totally F someone over, they will turn around and make them feel guilty for what they've done. It is insane. Oh, Snow, thank you to help with volunteers, water, etc. Okay, so remind me about this because it's going to be better to send it straight to the people that are doing it. But I am going to be picking up things today. But thank you so much, Snow. Remind me you sent that. Eve said, I'm going to be back in the bushes. Again, reality, you are so correct. And thank you, Snow. Me love you. I heard you were being kind of a bad girl in a couple of chats. Kat has a question. When you say screw the pooch, are you talking a Dawn Wells style? Nope. Metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically speaking. A true narcissist, some people call them narcs. A narc is totally something different. They will just do the shittiest things, shittiest attitude, and somehow the person that they attacked in one way or another, it is their fault. Again, law enforcement and the private investigators have said they are operating on the assumption that Sebastian walked out of his home. It's their investigation, not mine. If he walked out of his home in 26-degree weather, barefoot, him not being seen by any cameras, it could be because it's black outside. No dog scent obviously raises my eyebrows a little bit, but it could be there was a little something going on in the house, like being picked on, abuse, things taken away from him, being told to call his stepfather Mr. Chris. There could be a lot of things in that home that made him feel uncomfortable. Maybe like this.
Drive a narcissistic person in a relationship are power, control, and domination. And the narcissistic person uses the relationship as a source of validation. If those needs are not being met or cannot be achieved, that is a contributor to the volatility of these relationships.
Volatility, which means when you're dealing with someone like that, it is their way or the highway. Whatever mood, emotion, bad day, anything they're going through is going to get poured onto someone else. And even when they're called out, it's going to be their fault. It is the craziest thing. Let's go to some of your comments from the last show where we said alpha males are not abusers. And let me tell you, people are screaming from the high heavens to defend Mr. Chris, in quotes, with the insane things that he said. He admitted to making Sebastian cry. Sebastian thought that he was just going to leave. Come on. If he loves him so much, why would he want him to leave? It seems to me that No Ass is jealous of Sebastian. He definitely has narcissistic tendencies. He bullied him. It's just one thing after another. Let's go through some of your comments from the last show, shall we? Hero Forever, and it's actually spelled Hiro, said, in my opinion, it should by all means be a criminal investigation because, number one, children do not vanish. Yeah, where would he go? He doesn't have a job. He didn't take his phone. Flashlight and bare feet, where is he? Number two, she says children cannot consent. Yeah. He can't consent to all the things that were taken away from him. Everything from the furniture in his bedroom to his butt being whipped with a belt to his snake being taken away. Kids can't consent. She said, number three, wherever Sebastian and Summer, for that matter, are, they're not there legally. She said, let's just say that. Again, we're not the ones heading up the investigation. And if people are that convinced, including law enforcement, that he just walked out the door and poof, he's gone, well, they must have really good reason to think that. But it makes no sense. Nellen said it is incredible that this woman would rather go buy a Harley Davidson than look for her son. This woman is enjoying life as if Sebastian did not exist, and it's insane. You know what is so weird about that whole situation? When the vigil was going on, as you know, Mr. Proudfeet went to speak with, confront, bully, whatever you want to call it, Seth. He said, we're going to work together. We're all going to work together. Again, Seth was basically saying, if you guys don't respect that, you can F off. Well, I guess old Mr. Proudfeet thought he was talking to him because they never worked together. There was no search or anything together. But the argument continues over if this is recent or not. Katie even said, oh, we traded our bike in a long time ago. We're not talking about the bike. Why didn't you stick around for the vigil? Nobody's going to bully you. No one's going to bother you. You don't have to answer any questions. Still trying to say this is from years ago. Why would you have a Sebastian's Missing shirt years ago? It's the damnedest thing. As if that wouldn't be creepy AF. To have a Sebastian's Missing shirt made before he goes missing. Goodness. You know, he's trying to pull off this Morgan Wallen mullet and it's not working for him. He wants to bully Sebastian. We can give it right back to him. T-Walk says, good show today. Well, thank you, T-Walk. I have always thought Sebastian didn't make it home and that it was Katie who took out the trash dressed in black. Very interesting. We also had a comment on last week's show from someone that said, I think she got mad at him and said, you can walk the rest of the way home. That's the reason the dogs didn't pick up any scent around the home. I was blown away by that comment. The theory of her making him get out and walk without shoes is a total viable scenario. What better way to amp up the punishment than make him take off his shoes and walk home? Because we have been told by his father, who's getting a lot of internet hate, by the way. You don't have to like him, but he has nothing to do with Sebastian's disappearance. Didn't even live with him. He wasn't there. The only thing, because, okay, back to what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. Because Seth said Sebastian would not go outside without shoes. Now, we know Mr. Peter Hyatt is always saying, it's his opinion, it's his theory, that this is some sort of punishment that went wrong. It seems very possible. Because if he has this sensory issue because of the fire ants and he remembers that, and let's face it, it's 26 degrees outside. Why would you go outside barefoot? T-Walk goes on to say the only thing is, would she have done that outside of the 5-mile radius that has been searched? Because that seems an awful long way to walk home without anyone seeing him, especially not reporting it if he was walking without shoes. Super good point. Something is not adding up. And I think a really important question is, without violating HIPAA, where'd he go? If there is no criminal investigation and we have 2 private investigators that are speaking out publicly and law enforcement saying they are operating off the assumption that he just walked away, then why is there no active search? In 2 months' time, you're just going to let it go and wait on someone to say they've seen him? It makes no sense to me. All right, speaking of 2 months, Seth was on a local channel, WSMV. Speaking about how much time has passed since Sebastian vanished.
Today, since Sebastian Rogers disappeared, that case has gripped Middle Tennessee with little to no clues as to what happened. Our Michael Ward sat down with his father.
I met Sebastian's dad, Seth, here at this Clarksville playground where the two of them used to love to go. We talked about how it's been in the 2 months since Sebastian went missing and the investigation itself.
I need everybody in the world to help me find my son.
At the park where Seth Rogers watched his son Sebastian play. Tonight, he pleads for help.
I'm supposed to protect him. He's missing. I want to find him.
It's been 2 months since Sebastian disappeared, last seen in the area of his mom and stepdad's Hendersonville home. Since that day, there have been no confirmed sightings of the 15-year-old with autism.
I didn't sleep last night. I didn't sleep at all between text messages and phone calls. You know, people are like, oh, it's been 2 months. And it's like, has it? Because it hasn't felt like 2 months to me. It's felt like one continuous long-ass day.
Large-scale search efforts by ground, water, and air came up empty. Seth's now hired his own private investigators. He wants people to keep sending in tips because the next rabbit hole they go down could be the one that leads to his son. Do you have a belief
I believe.
to what happened?
As for what happened, no. Because I have no information on what happened. But I do believe that policy needs to be changed.
I think that's fair enough. He doesn't want to put a theory out there, even though he's given many hints. He's showing what a lot of us would call grace. He was on court TV and said this happened under her watch. Well, the only her we know of is the chick that just wants to argue online about when she actually traded in a damn motorcycle, like any of us care. This is after she lied about when the picture was taken. She seemed to forget that Mullet Man was standing there in a Sebastian shirt. Why would you have a Sebastian's missing shirt and have it made before? Wouldn't that be the shits? We pretty much know what Seth thinks. He believes there is some sort of negligence within the home. And I would think that is fair enough to say.
When an autistic child supposedly walks out the door and disappears, it doesn't mean you classify it as a runaway. It's a missing person. There should be an Amber Alert done immediately.
Seth admits he's curious as to what the dynamic was inside Sebastian's home before he went missing. The TBI maintains there's no evidence of foul play.
Bringing people together to pray, to ask God to show us a light.
Seth tells me prayer has helped. He, along with about 100 others, will do that tonight at a Light the Path event for Sebastian in Sumner County. Michael Warwick, WSMV4.
Fair enough to say. You're supposedly on the phone for 3 hours with your husband. You hear a thud and just say, knock it off and get into bed. Continue your phone call, and then the next morning, your son is not there. And TBI is not leading the investigation. TBI can't, the way things are set up in Tennessee. And I'm not knocking on Tennessee. That's just how they're set up. So it's the local law enforcement. I mean, TBI is definitely investigating. But they're saying they have no evidence of foul play. None. Do you think that maybe, since there is no active search going on, no public search for Sebastian, that they are truly behind the scenes considering this criminal? They stopped the search and said they're going to switch gears to a more investigative approach. Well, if there's no foul play, what's there to investigate? You're looking for a teenager wandering around. He's pissed off. Got into a fight with his mom. Pissed that Mr. Chris was coming back. And was like, forget this noise. I'm out of here. Shouldn't be too tough to solve that, right? So what is it? Hey, little bit. How did you survive the storms? You guys had some damage out by where you're at. Now, let's go through what a few, two of the private investigators. Okay, this is update. This is from Justice Warrior Investigations. Number one, the SO, and you know what that means, that lives within a mile of Stafford is no longer a person of interest in her investigation. She said, I interviewed him, got his alibi, and validated his alibi thoroughly. So the talk of the SO in the neighborhood or nearby, I apologize, she's saying has nothing to do with Sebastian's disappearance. Two, and this got a lot of toes curled, and not in a good way. I can tell you that I know for a fact that Chris Proudfeet was accounted for in Memphis on Sunday evening and was on the job site at 5:15 a.m. on the morning that Sebastian was reported missing. Okay. Whether the crane was being operated or not, I don't know, don't care. But we know the night before he was in Memphis and the next morning. This is according to Seth's private investigator. He also had a 3-hour phone call with his lovely wife. So again, where is Sebastian? Where is Sebastian? Number 3, they say, we did follow up on the lead regarding Republic dumpsters being dumped at the Galatian landfill that caught on fire. This is false. The dumpsters were dumped at AAA in Nashville. Also, I was able to confirm with LE that those dumpsters were checked thoroughly in the early morning hours of February 26th. Okay, very important. Now we get to another PI. Very nice lady says, I've been involved in Sebastian Rogers' case in some capacity from very early on. I am not hired. I am helping. As many know, I work missing persons cases only with my license, and I'm pro bono. I do not charge families. The interview was tense, talking about what happened on Web Sleuths, and many people spoke over one another. What happened was not planned. Emotions were high and everyone's were valid. She says, my only goal is to find Sebastian. I am trying to continue executing plans to do so. I am operating on the same assumption that law enforcement is, that Sebastian walked away from his home. I will not share my reasoning why at this time. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. But if you remember, the Uvalde Foundation for Kids said, we are now 100% convinced that the family of Sebastian Rogers knows far more than has been revealed publicly. We are also now equally convinced that recent developments indicate answers to be revealed soon. So you have this, I'll say, private investigator that doesn't agree and isn't going to follow suit. But hey, they're out of it. I got quite a chuckle out of this. Josh Devine from TBI had to correct Jennifer Coffendaffer. He said, hi, Jennifer, important to note. We've corrected the news outlet reporting the inaccurate detail. There's no such thing as a national Amber Alert. Each state has a clearinghouse for missing children with its own guidelines on issuing. And that's true. Every state does it differently. Some, it's if they're not home, there's an Amber Alert. Some want to know who they left with, tag number, etc., etc. It's different in every state. And it's confusing and it's just crazy. So here comes Jacoff. She said, from my understanding, Amber Alerts can be varied based whether they issue a state, regional, or national alert. Not all Amber Alerts go nationwide, but this was based on my experience filling out the paperwork. What paperwork? What are you talking about? What paperwork? She's never dealt with a missing persons case ever. This is from her. Paperwork? What are you filling out? When's the last time you used a pen and paper? Everything is done online and damn sure by the FBI. Could you imagine the FBI waiting on old Jacoff to fill out paperwork? Could you imagine that? Child, 4'2", 86 pounds, last seen wearing a blue t-shirt. Are you kidding me? Based on her experience. What paperwork? You were supposedly in the FBI. This is such a joke, and she just buries herself deeper. It is only Monday, but you know what's going to happen here. She's the idiot of the weekend. Dear God, her experience with paperwork. You know, and you all do this to me. I don't subscribe to any of her shit. You all send this to me and my face falls off and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to bring it up. All right, I'm going to drop the link and see if anybody wants to come up, and we are going to go through Noah's meltdown. And you tell me what you think. Had he just had enough, or is it truly what he said? He saw a comment that pissed him off and he came up. You know, last week he was mad at me because I said he didn't have an ass. And for some reason, I keep forgetting about it and I keep calling him no ass. I'm going to make a note to myself. I've got to do paperwork. Let me fill out the paperwork so I can remind myself not to say that about him. goodness. Let's make it crystal clear, my friends. Are you ready?
Thin air on my front porch. He sure had to go somewhere, so he had to walk off the front porch. Now, if you're trying to insinuate somebody
Already I'm neck deep. He had to have gone somewhere. I got it. Let's listen to it again. He had to have gone somewhere.
Need to get on the same page and regroup and just make the decision right here, right now, to ignore the rumors, to clear up misinformation, and just to get on track so that we can start trying to find Sebastian.
Now,
right, if we can keep parties involved in this investigation focused on that and staying off of YouTube and other aspects of social media and playing the game.
okay. Parties, in quote. If we can get parties to stay off of social media and quit playing the game, who do you think he's talking about? I'm going to have to do some paperwork to figure it out because I believe he's talking about Seth. Why would it threaten Mr. Proudfeet for Seth to advocate for his own son and keep his name out there? Trust me, I wouldn't want all that heat coming at me either. But he's talking about Seth. Real quick, I'm going to bring up Pam and see what she thinks about what went down on Saturday. We're not going to skip ahead or, throw out any zingers or anything. Let's see what Pam thinks. Hey, Pam, what's up?
Well, it's all right. So, I'm not going to go any further, but you need to learn how to respect women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because he wouldn't talk to people like that. That is disgraceful.
Well, and besides a military trained woman like Mrs. Proudfeet, what about his own stepson? How come he has no respect for Sebastian? He's telling the public these stories. He's up on his pulpit saying some people basically need to stay in their lane and not play the game. Explain the game to me. I need to know the game. What the hell's the game?
Yeah. They act like this is some game with missing kids. They act like it's a competition. They act like it's something, but these are missing kids. That's what it should stay with. And this little Katie Proudfoot, when she heard that thud, do you ever think that thud, with him having water on the brain, he could have fell, and then all of a sudden she panicked because she told him to go to bed because she didn't check on him, okay? That thud didn't mean a whole lot to her. But when she got up that morning, she could have put him in the truck or the car, whatever. He's been in that car before, so his DNA is going to be on there. Put him in the car, drive him over by the school, and like Seth said, the mother takes the body off somewhere, or they do something with it.
I would think that would be easy to track, but I don't know. Again,
because Seth gets up there and says, I heard your mom has Sebastian. And he tells Chris this. And that's the second blow up. Woo!
Well, here's the whole
if
thing.
You're not guilty of something.
He grabs
why have a blow up at all?
Well, there's no reason for a blow up, period. They should all be quote unquote working together. but that never happened.
That's not going to happen.
Well, it didn't happen.
Well, they're not going to. I don't see them ever working together.
Well, they didn't. They announced over a week ago that they're all going to work together, and it didn't happen. We saw what went down. We saw for ourselves. Okay,
No.
my friend, I appreciate you coming up.
All right. Well,
Thanks, son.
I just hope Sebastian's found.
100%.
And how does he go out of the door, the front door? Would he have been scared of something? That's why he ran?
I don't know why any child, when it's 26 degrees outside and I mean,
Well,
even
if you're scared of something, maybe he's scared of mom and he's running from her. I don't know. And he couldn't get away that far. I don't know. I just hope he's found and they can I can't say put their differences aside, but
he has
the only one that's got the answers is Katie Proudfoot.
That's where it comes right back down to. She was the one that we know for sure was home. And he doesn't have proper shoes, proper clothing, 26 degrees. Even if he is a seasoned hiker, he wouldn't have survived all that. He's got no food. He's got no water. What is he eating? Elm leaves? No, that makes no sense.
Well, it's basically like Summer. The only ones that have the answers is Candace and Grandis.
I agree.
Because they was with her. Katie was with them. If they've got all this info that he's clear, he was at work, he wasn't there, then it leaves in Katie Proudfoot's hands. So you got to say she's got all the answers. Nobody, and she's got to wait to, like Candace, quit playing the game. These are children.
100%. Sebastian, I mean, he's a 15-year-old boy.
Exactly, without a bicycle. Didn't he? I heard he never had a bike at 15.
Well, nobody said he took off on a bike. I don't know. I mean, if they don't want,
I'm just saying somebody said he's never owned a bike. It's like, didn't this kid ever play outside as a little kid?
Well, remember what Seth said, they didn't want him doing like any physical type of things because they didn't want him to hit his head. I mean, think about it. You fall off a bike, hit your head. I mean, even if you have
you could go fishing and hit your head. I mean, I have seizures and I hit my head, but they need found, and not having the answers and making everybody, look dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna answer it because this F off, that was very disrespectful. I mean, he didn't get any brownie points with that one with me.
I think it was taken out of context, and I don't even understand how all these people that spend hours upon hours a day on YouTube would even be offended by him saying, if you don't like us working together, you can F off. That was just ridiculous.
I understand now, but when he first said it, it was like, wait, dude. I understand it now, but when he first said it, it's like, and he's such a stressful man. Seth is at his limit. He is over his limit. And I would be too if I was him. I mean, you leave your wife, your ex-wife, take it back, ex-wife, with your child.
Well, I mean, tensions are high, and whether Katie Proudfeet knows everything That would be one thing. That would be quite the accusation. But I can guarantee you this, she knows more. So I appreciate you coming up,
All
Pam.
right. All right.
All right, I'm going to bring up Avi and Little Bit in a second. I'm so sorry I missed Angel. So this is where we get to he's going to make it crystal clear. You can't make things crystal clear by not answering questions. If it's not a criminal investigation and he walked out of the house, then there's nothing to worry about by answering. That, again, is just my opinion.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sure we would all benefit greatly, and this would completely change narratives and the direction, and it would straight focus completely on Sebastian.
Well, let's do this. This call, this podcast or Web Sleuths podcast that we're on right now, we can make a pact right now. That's what we're doing right here, right
But
now.
but here's the other thing. I appreciate you willing to make that pact, but you know exactly who I'm referring to. That needs to be done publicly as well then.
Well, all we can do is what we can do here tonight. So,
Right.
but Chris, there's a couple of questions, and then there is somebody. There is somebody that wants to come on the panel, and I don't know if you want them on here, but I'll ask. Well, let me ask you these questions first, okay? Everybody wants to know, what do you think happened to Sebastian? What do you think happened?
I don't know. For the love of God, I wished I had an answer. I wished we had something to go off of, but we
Chris,
don't.
I asked Seth this a few weeks ago, and so just no thought.
I'm gonna hear you out.
In your gut, spit it out. Doesn't matter if it sounds completely off the wall. What is your knee-jerk reaction to what happened?
Sebastian walked out of the house, stepped off the porch, and has vanished into thin air. That is what I think, because that is what I know.
He wasn't home. Even the private investigators that are helping Seth have said Chris Proudfeet wasn't home. He's saying that's what he knows. He walked out the door and he vanished. What a word. No panic in his voice. No, we're going to do everything we can to find him. He's pissed. He is pissed.
But what do you mean, you know?
I've been part of the investigation since day one.
Okay.
And if anybody else out there that's got some information in regards to where Sebastian has went, because last time I checked, there's not one shred of evidence.
You know he walked off the porch is what I'm asking.
I'm telling you, unless this kid is just in the thin air on my front porch, he sure had to go somewhere, so he had to walk off the front porch. Now, if you're trying to insinuate somebody was in my house or somebody's taking that child outside of my house, say
I'm not
that.
insinuating anything. I'm asking, do you know that he walked out your front door? Do you know?
That he went out the front door?
Or any door?
Is that what you're asking?
Do you know?
Yeah, that's what we're asking.
Okay, thank you. I just need a confirmation. I don't play games here. So just to make this real crystal clear, there's a back door. Every door in the house when Katie got up that morning was locked.
Okay.
Since it's already out there, there's a keypad on the front door. You don't need a key to unlock and lock my front door.
Mm-hmm.
But you need a key to lock every other door. And every other door was locked, folks.
So
Did Katie do that?
Do
Can he
what?
walk out? Did Katie make sure all the other doors were locked? And could have Sebastian just walked out? Could he have walked out the front door?
Every door was locked.
So thank you so much, Zach Walker. Okay. Just Cat said, so he knows a child stepped off the porch and vanished. In the words of Dr. Phil, he didn't just evaporate. Thank you so much for that, Cat, and thank you, Zach. There would be a timestamp on the Deadbolt app record because there's a keypad. What we have here is another Candace Wells, no one in, no one out. He is saying everything's locked up. Everything's locked up. Let's bring up our friend Avi and see if she can make it crystal clear for us. Welcome, my friend Avi.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. What are you thinking about this?
Oh my gosh, I have so many feelings. I don't want to get too far ahead because I know you're just getting started on it. But what really was alarming and upset me the most was whenever Seth was pleading for Sebastian's safe return, and Chris totally just interrupted that whole entire thing. It was an emotional. I was starting to, tear up and, ugly cry. And then Chris just started acting out like he wanted to shut it down. And I just don't understand why would Chris do that? I've been thinking about it all weekend. Yeah.
Anger. He's pissed. He saw some comment. I don't know what it is. And that's the reason he grabbed the link. He came up, and it seemed like when he said, we need to change the narrative and we need to have some people, meaning Seth, he didn't say him by name, but who else is he talking about, quit playing the game. And he wants to shut Seth up. That's what it is. He did not want these things put out because it puts him and his lovely gussied up bride in a bad light.
Yeah.
Did I lose you, Avi? Hang on, I lost Avi. Let's get back to it.
So what you're saying is that the only possibility is the front door. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying the most conceivable way possible that this makes sense is that he walked out the front door.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Did he walk out without his shoes on? Is that what you believe?
My statement earlier is real simple. Sebastian walked out of the house not wearing any shoes.
Could he have been running and scared of something?
Don't know. He could. It's a young boy. It's dark outside. God only knows.
Okay, great question. Could he have been scared and running away from something? Don't know. Well, what would he be scared of? It's only him and his mother at home. What we have here is Dawn Wells 2.0. No Ass has become the Dawn Wells of Middle Tennessee. He's not home, and he's trying to be the historian for his wife, which makes zero sense to me. I wouldn't speak at all. I wasn't there. I would only speak if I was there. And what do we have from her? Colossal popcorn, no shoes, 3-hour phone call, and thud. And the people that are the most outspoken and upset are the ones that weren't there. Let's bring up our friend Little Bit and see what she thinks. What's up, Little Bit?
Hey, how are you?
I did forget spaghetti pancakes. Thank you for that, Mermaid. So what did you make out of this mess?
Well, I think the young lady prior to might have been speaking of when Seth kind of towards the end of the conversation. He was getting extremely emotional. I think honestly they both sounded like, which there's nothing wrong with that. They're adults. Maybe they were doing a little sipping and tipping. And I felt like Chris came in actually very compassionate towards Seth towards the end when Chris heard Seth getting emotional, and he was like, hey, buddy, look, let's, let's get off and let's talk about this. And his voice went way down. I think Chris and Seth probably had a pretty good relationship at one point in time. And I'm just, that's how I saw that part of it. But I think there's a lot, and I'll try to make this crystal clear. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going on with Chris behind the scenes that already adds to his little anger self anyways. And my other thought process is, I know there's rumors, and I don't want to go off of rumors, but I'm just going to go off of maybe another theory I was thinking of is maybe Katie had somebody else over. Sebastian saw something. Maybe he said something. Mom and him got into an argument. They're like, look, he's going to tell Chris. There could have been a whole other narrative that was going on that didn't include anything to do with Chris. And then maybe Chris did eventually find out, or he's got his own suspicions, which could have also be adding to his irritation. Now, Seth, I feel bad for Seth, but at the same time, I think we have to be fair on both sides, or I feel like it's being fair this way to be able to see things from both ways, to not get tunnel vision. And I will say that Seth has said some things that are not accurate, and when he does go on live with that person, it does get corrected. And I don't know if he does it intentionally or not. I know he's got help now, and I think that that's going to make a huge difference because he is very emotional. I think we all would be.
I can imagine them all being emotional.
Right.
It's just that, I don't think that anger getting in the way of pure panic to find your son, stepson, whatever label you want to put on Sebastian as far as who Chris is. He basically validated everything Nina said to Trev.
Right.
Every bit of it.
Right. And Chris does have, he has anger issues, period. We can see that. But I think some of the additional is, anger also stems from hurt. You'll show anger, when you are hurt. And I think there may be some other things, like you said, what's going on with my wife and I is nobody else, because there's trouble over there. There's trouble over there. Also, if he's gone for that whole month, because he's gone from February 1 to February 26. So if he's trying to get any type of custody, Katie's the one that's going to be the primary caretaker. So in DHS and everybody else in the courts, all this stuff is going to know that. So, if he wants custody, he's going to have to try to maybe somehow make this not look so bad, because he's already mentioned, and every job changes. Maybe 2 weeks one, 2 months another. Who knows on the type of work that he does. But she seems to be the primary caretaker, and underneath her watch, a child comes up missing. Now, I will tell you, as a mom, we know once we go to bed, our kids have probably taken our cars out and, did all kinds of things. We don't hear everything. We can't hear everything, especially if we're asleep.
But she said she heard a thud. She said she heard a thud. We're not talking about music. Yeah, she was awake.
Right.
She said a thud. She heard a thud. We're not talking about music up loud or the video game up too loud or, talking too loud or on the phone and you could hear something. We're not talking about the TV up too loud or anything like that. She heard a thud. That's totally different.
Yeah, no, I think Katie has everything to do. Katie is the ticket to this. I mean, I'm not saying. I think Katie is 100%, the main, person in this. I'm just talking between Seth and Chris, that I feel like they genuinely did have a pretty good relationship. And Seth said that in the beginning, that they did. I know they kind of split ways, but you know what? I think anything like this could kind of come between some people, especially when it's not like a lover's love. It can do that. It can cause a rift. It's just, I do feel like that Seth has said maybe some things that maybe he shouldn't have, and Chris has said a lot of things and acted a certain way he shouldn't have. And but I think when it's just them two, I think they're more on the same page. I think
you're right. I think at one time they did have a good relationship, and that's why Chris went to talk to Seth at the vigil. Was he not taking his calls? I don't know. Did he change his number? I don't know why he didn't just call him, but he went to speak to him, person to person, man to man. He knew where he was going to be. And instead of Katie, because it seems like they have the better relationship, or because Chris was pissed and thought he's going to put him in his place, because he seems to think that everyone should do what he wants when he wants. He wants to basically dictate everything.
Do you think that maybe he wanted to see him face to face too, so nobody else could maybe hear certain things like Katie, because maybe Chris has got some suspicions?
I've wondered about that he wanted him to work with him to get more information out of her. I wouldn't be surprised if, there's not more questions by law enforcement, and I'm sure there's a ton that they are saying to her husband, if you could get this, this, and this, and this out of her, that would help. I will never forget when Don Wells was talking about Summer. And no, the cases are not the same. I'm not trying to compare cases. But the TBI, they did tell Don, we really, really need you to work with her on the timeline. All right, let's see what he makes crystal clear, my friends.
Okay. Now, there is somebody that has been asking to come on, and Gray Hughes, he would like to talk to you. Would you like
you can bring that man on board, because I've talked to him. I respect him, and I will talk to him.
Gray, I just sent you the Facebook link, so jump on up. Okay, Gray? I just sent it to your Facebook. So he'll be jumping on here shortly. Stacy, can you keep an eye out, because
Honestly, dogs are only probably 25% reliable when it comes to a scent.
Let's just.
Okay, I apologize. I skipped ahead because I want to hear more about the dogs, not Gray Hughes stroking off Mr. Proudfeet, because that was damn gross. Yeah, that was damn gross. Okay. Sorry about that little bit. It was probably confusing to everybody. I'm waiting for something to be crystal clear to me. I'm not going to watch a circle jerk. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Like he needs his ego stroked more.
Right.
You've got to be kidding me. And I had to stomach through that shit. I was like, come on, that's crazy. All right, so let's go to where he tries to mansplain the dogs to us.
I don't want to give them any.
Right. So let's get to our next question.
Okay, next question. Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, because I just wrote some things down. Have you had, and I may have asked this and I forgot, Chris. My mind is sometimes mush. Have you had search dogs inside the house and
Yes,
outside?
ma'am, I have. Yes, I have
And
sure have.
and what did the dogs hit outside?
So, as you know, if anybody has followed Mr. Gray's, what he was talking about, the dog and the trail and the scent and the overlay on the picture. So, there anywhere from 13 to 18 different dogs have been
Okay.
involved in this search.
Mhm.
Now, on day one, there was 5 dogs. 5. There's an audio dispatch tape that's been released. I don't know who released it. Whatever, I don't have it, but you'd have to dig it and find it. In that audio tape, you actually hear that the deputy sheriff does state that the dog cants toward a scent and he takes over off to the retention pond and the construction site next door.
Okay.
Now, other dogs did the exact same thing. Now, am I going to say every single dog? No, but I do know of at least 3 dogs that went on the same scent trail, same path. The rest of the dogs, I'm not going to tell you that they are 100% honest and perfect and accurate, because
Sure.
honestly, dogs are only.
So the dogs lied?
Only 3.
I can't tell you the dogs were 100% honest and accurate. So the puppy dogs have something against you and your family and Sebastian? What a whopper! With extra cheese and mayo and dehydrated, or whatever you call it, tomato. I got to hear that again. I'm still not taking Idiot of the Week away from Jennifer Coffendaffer. Woo! That's a goodie. I can't tell you if those dogs were being honest or not. Woo! Damn, everybody.
Him, if he wants to call me rather than go on the internet, just call me on the phone and I can put him on and to be a really, really strong signal. I mean, it'll sound really good.
Well, I think it's just like his cell signal up there is not the greatest.
Oh, it's his cell. Okay.
Yeah.
But if he wants to,
I mean, if he's on his cell phone, let me.
Heather, if you want to give him my number, and Chloe has it, feel free. And he can, if it's better for him to call me rather than to jump online.
I'm texting him.
Okay, we can do that. So, hey guys, I don't want to talk about other creators in chat, so let's not do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
yeah, let's just. I mean, I don't want to give them any.
Right. So let's get to our next question.
Okay, next question. Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, because I just wrote some things down. Have you had? And I may have asked this and I forgot, Chris. My mind is sometimes mush. Have you had search dogs inside the house and outside?
Yes, ma'am, I have. Yes, I have sure have.
And what did the dogs hit outside?
So, as you know, if anybody has followed Mr. Gray's, what he was talking about, the dog and the trail and the scent and the overlay on the picture. So
I also want to remind everybody before we get to the lying dogs that when certain creators, and I'm not going to call out who right now, I'm actually in a good mood today, when they pull up their maps and their Google Earth and all that stuff, this shit is outdated. Okay? And if old Gray wants to be the new Tim Mullins, he can have at it. If he wants to attach his cart to that dead dick of a donkey, have at it. But you want to play the map game with me, if you're just showing something simple like A to B, it makes sense. But all of this Google Earth stuff and everything is redonkulous. Okay? It is redonkulous.
Anywhere from 13 to 18 different dogs have been involved in this search. Now, on day one, there was 5 dogs. 5. There's an audio dispatch tape that's been released. I don't know who released it. Whatever, I don't have it, but you'd have to dig it and find it. In that audio tape, you actually hear that the deputy sheriff does state that the dog hints toward a scent and he takes over off to the retention pond and the construction site next door.
Okay.
Now, other dogs did the exact same thing. Now, am I going to say every single dog? No, but I do know of at least 3 dogs that went on the same scent trail, same path. The rest of the dogs, I'm not going to tell you that they are 100% honest and perfect and accurate because honestly,
you know, bless her heart, I couldn't have agreed with this. I would have said, what do you mean that the dogs aren't honest? You mean the dogs have a grudge against you? You have any puppy dogs a little bit?
I don't. I don't have dogs. Well, I do. I have a pit bull. But
Does your pit bull lie to you?
no, he does not. Well, and if he does, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I can tell you right now. This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard. And I saw a few people in chat saying, Google your own address. Google Earth your own address. You'll see it's not accurate.
It is not accurate.
We had a little
You're
exercise on the members live not too long ago. And I was showing a convenience store not too far from us. It's called the Come and Go. A lot of people got a huge kick out of that name. Anyway, you're from Oklahoma, you know. And I said, this is what you see when you Google Earth it. It's a dirt lot. I said, this is what it really looks like. So I tell you what, you Google Earth detectives, you got a lot of work on your damn hands. I would never want you working for the government.
Dogs are only probably 25% reliable when it comes to a scent.
Okay.
Now, 8 days, I've had dogs in my house the first 8 days. In my house, outside my house, around my house, around the neighborhood. So, yeah.
So they've been there and, so they did, you're saying they did hit and they all went to that pond.
No, I didn't say all of that. I just told you I've had 13 to 18 dogs.
Take notes. Take notes, no ass. You said to Nancy Grace that the lion ass dogs hit at the retention pond. Now you're saying, no, I didn't say that. So if they lie 25% of the time, what's the 75% for? I can do simple math.
In my house and around my house. I told you 3 different dogs hit on the same path that go to that retention pond.
Right.
I'm
That's
not going to say that every other dog.
Not every dog, but some dogs hit. Okay.
Right. So, but I want this to be crystal clear.
Okay.
So when people say every dog, that is not the case. 3 dogs went on the same path.
Okay.
That is all that we have on that. The rest of these dogs go in different directions, but it's all unreliable.
I was today years old. Thank you, Mr. No-Foot. When I found out dogs are not that reliable. Yet they can't use polygraphs in court because they're not crystal clear. But in trial, they line up what dogs scented. I think about in the case of Michael Vaughn, when Brandon Shirtlift's mother made a little joke out of the dogs hitting outside of her house. And she said, they told me I had a leaky toilet. LOL. Here comes Idaho Search and Rescue that said they're not trained to pick up on your shit stain. That's not what they were there for. All of those dogs picked up on something else. But see, what we have here is we have dogs that they have got their own clique. We have basically the pink ladies and the socialites of the dogs, okay? And they're fighting. So we have some dogs that are honest in the proud feet world, and we have some dogs that are lying to throw off the investigation. It is absolutely nuts to me. I couldn't have kept a straight face.
Understood. We do have a question from Michelle. Chris, was Ellie able to go in and search the cave they said had collapsed about 10 feet in? I haven't heard this.
Okay, so Ken Widener is the EMA director for Sumner County. They called in all kinds of stuff, got layouts of where these caves were. I don't believe, and I'm not telling you by the gospel, I don't believe they were able to get into certain caves because they were not safe to enter. The one that she is referring to that collapsed, honestly, we know that the one collapsed, but we don't believe they had anything to it.
Got it. Okay. Let's see here. Let me get my notes. I was taking notes while.
Well, thanks for throwing that wrench into it. The cave collapsed? The fuck is going on? My mid-Tennessee friends, any of you know about a collapsed cave around you? I don't pay extra attention to the news around here. Well, unless a tornado is going to hit me. But if a cave collapsed around Oklahoma, both me and Little Bit would have heard about it. Okay, Snow said she heard about it. Okay. Does anybody know when the cave supposedly collapsed? There's got to be some geologists looking at this. Wouldn't you think? Caves don't just collapse.
Where was the cave at? Do we know?
I don't know. He hasn't given us the gospel truth, probably because the dogs lied to me. He hasn't made it crystal clear to me yet. I can't tell you.
While we were talking. Let's see here. Hold on. So people have been asking, and I don't mean to sound insulting, but people are asking, are you searching? Are you putting up flyers? That's what they're asking.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, and here's why they're asking that question. No, you're not going to find pictures of us out there doing this because it's real simple. We, all three parents, initially were told in the beginning not to go out and search, that we needed to be available to talk to law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Seth has been out there searching and doing his thing. He's had a bunch of people following him, whether or not he chose that or these people decided to do it on their own accord. That's not for me to say. But we, Katie and I, are not going to have some big, massive search party following us around with a bunch of people that are already threatened death threats, by the way, to us.
Why don't they turn these death threats in? Through the course of this case, a friend of ours had what I would call a threat, and the police are taking it very seriously. If they're having all these death threats, then how come TBI isn't doing something about it? I don't understand all this. You're a big old strapping man there, Chris. If you want to find Sebastian, hell, he knows phone numbers by heart. You think he doesn't know his address? You think he doesn't know which way he turned away to walk out the front door, according to you? Prove the death threats. Mark out the names. Shit or get off the pot. That makes no sense to me. As far as the cave, I did see that a group of 27 kayakers on March 27th, which is way after Sebastian evaporated, had to be rescued from high winds, and that's really, it was in Nickajack Lake, going through a cave. Nickajack Lake is nowhere near where he's talking about.
You know, I'm not doing that. If you were in my shoes, you'd do the same thing. You listen to law enforcement. You do what they tell you to do. Yes, we're out there putting up signs. Yes, we're out there putting up flyers. Yes, we are searching.
Chris, I'm sorry. Did you just say you guys are getting death threats?
Yes, we've been getting death threats. And they have been reported to the TBI. Everything gets forwarded, screenshot, and sent straight to them.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, everyone, I have Seth on my phone, on my JBL speaker. Seth, I want to give you a chance to talk uninterrupted. So please, go ahead.
All right. Mainly, Chris, the communication needs to be a little bit more prompt. If I send you an email on Monday and Tuesday, I'm not willing to wait a week to get a response back. I mean, that's unacceptable when we're trying to find Sebastian, buddy.
I understand what you're saying. I respect that. But when it comes to you asking people to come into my house on my property, who I don't know Adam from Eve, and I really don't care what certification, who can vouch for these people, I don't care. I'm going to do exactly what I have always been doing. You send that to me,
okay, well,
we're going to review it, and then we're going to send it to law
enforcement.
Let law enforcement go that route, and then when law enforcement comes
for us,
hold on,
to be on your property.
Hold on, Chris. Chris, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Seth, what did you say?
I said the person to be our spokesman, to speak for all three of us, doesn't need to be on your property.
Okay,
but
you're correct.
You have spoken
you are very correct.
To him.
I have spoken to him.
When?
And I'm going to make this public. I am back working, and I have work hours. I also have to sleep. And unfortunately, I'm on the opposite schedule of you. So respect that.
Well, I understand that Seth is not a fan favorite. I'm not expecting anyone to pick a side here. Obviously, we're all on Sebastian's side, but crystal clearly, Seth says, well, when I send you an email, I don't want to wait a week to get a response. And Don Wells Jr. goes, because I'm working hours and I have to sleep. Reminds me of when Don Wells confronted Brandy Neal, and she knew the number of days that her son Michael has been missing. She knew the number of days that Summer Wells has been missing. And Don said, oh, I can't keep up with that, because I gotta work and sleep. I gotta work and sleep. She was literally at work. You think searching for a child isn't grueling work? What are you talking about here? And it's high time that Katie Proudfoot gets out of the damn middle of these two men. They've only got one thing in common, and that's her. They don't share a child. Chris is a stepdaddy. Not saying step parents are not important. I am not saying that at all. But we have these two men going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Where is she? She's not working. Is she sleeping? What's going on? Speak for yourself, Mama. You got these two men wired. You've got them pissed. And anybody that drops a link, they are right there. Whether it's to talk about Sebastian or to defend themselves. And then act like a total vagina saying, I'm getting death threats. Are you getting death threats? Or is it like what Pine Needle said? Are you truly getting a death threat? By the way, screenshots don't work when it comes to police. They need a little more info than that. They have to figure out what account it came from. But anyway, I'll leave that alone.
I think
Are we talking about nasty reviews on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, what have you? Or are these real death threats? Because no one is going to prosecute your hurt fucking feelings. You can ask a few YouTubers around the planet. No one is going to prosecute or let you sue for your hurt damn feelings.
I think that PI will check into it because she seemed to be pretty intrigued, like she'd never heard it before.
She should be helping Sebastian and not them. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad that's what I think they're there for, and I'm glad they are. Now, Heather seems to have a better hold on Chris, and Chloe seems to have a good one. Well, I think they both do with Seth. You know, it's hard not to with him. But one other thing, real quick, do you have a Ring camera?
We haven't got it put in yet. How come?
Okay, so I had a Ring camera, and you can. There's a couple of different ways. You know, we could do ours. You pay $100 a year, and you know, keep the recordings for whatever time length, and/or you don't, and it's just, you know, it records. It gives you a notification, and then it drops off. I know, and they were saying their front lot was about a quarter of a lot, so it wasn't, you know, real big from their door. I know my notification was going off all the time because of my setting, because I had it out so far. So anytime a car or anything would drive by, it would go off. So I did set my setting back, depending on what we were doing or where we were going, to my driveway, to like the end of my driveway. So that way, if a car did drive by, it did not initiate my Ring camera. So there is a possibility some of these people's settings are set a certain way to where they couldn't see Seth, or not Seth, sorry, Sebastian, because they did say some of the officers who were even walking around were not detected by some of those Ring cameras. So it could have been some of the settings.
I don't have one. Does a light come on? Because Mr. Proudfeet is saying no cameras picked him up because it was dark. I would assume a light would come on, motion detection.
No, mine did not. No, it didn't have a light that came on. Now we have motion detectors on the house, but that's not connected to the Ring. The Ring itself, the audio, the video, and because it does have like the infrared or whatever, you can see. But you can't see, like if somebody's walking in the street, you might be able to see they have a gray hoodie on and maybe blue jeans. But if they turned their face, all you're going to see is like the white where their eyes would be, like look like little bit, you know, white dots. But you're not going to be able to really make out that facial. But you can tell by, you know, you can definitely see their physique. You can see if they're tall, skinny, they're bouncing a ball, they got a backpack on them. Some are probably higher definition than others now. But the you know, if he did leave, or anybody, you know, was trying to be sneaky or whatever, and they're aware of everyone's cameras, just saying that not all of them are set to where you can see all the way across. to the other, to the neighbors.
And I see exactly what you're saying, but I have a hard time believing that everybody in this neighborhood with a $500,000 home and up, because I mean, there's homes in that neighborhood that are $1 million, that everybody had the same setting and not one house on either way you go picked up whatever physique, tall, short, fat, thin, doing cartwheels down the street, didn't pick anything up. So, I mean, just in my opinion, that ship has sailed. So this whole walking out the front door, not detected, makes no sense. And I still don't know what is going on with their home security. And I'm not saying anyone needs to have it. I mean, we know they bought the house, when they bought the house, not we, I don't live with their asses. When they bought the house, we saw on Zillow that ADT was installed. So they obviously, I'm just going to assume, they didn't continue with that service. So at one time, there was security in that house. She at one time worked for Brinks. I'm not saying she quit her job. Supposedly she's on a break. I don't know. She didn't have Brinks come in there. They say they have floodlights, but they weren't on that night. Now, this is according to Mr. Proudfit, but he wasn't even home. So how can he tell you what lights were on and not? What is going on here?
Right. And I don't think all the neighbors have it on the same setting too. I was just throwing out there that I know on ours, we did scale ours back. Just, to throw out some information, because a lot of people that I hear say, well, the Ring cameras are going to pick them up. And I'm like, well, not necessarily, because,
oh no, you're 100% right. But what are the odds that I'm counting just what I can see out my window. 1, 2, I'll just say just my vantage point. Well, if I really get up and look, but I'm kind of lazy.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
There's like 5, 6 homes. What are the odds they all have the same settings?
I think that law enforcement has
on
more
either
information.
side. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Somebody on either side. And I don't see we have kind of a laid back neighborhood. Okay. So between the hours of, let's say, 1 a.m. and 6:30, when she went to wake Sebastian up, you're not going to see people out jogging. I got one weirdo that mows his lawn at like 4 a.m. I don't know why, but I mean, maybe people coming home from work or something, but a kid just walking around randomly, you're not. And a lot of your security cameras, if they pick up a person during certain times of the night, it's going to alert you because it could be a potential burglar. And that's what you really look at. You're telling me nobody in that neighborhood didn't get some sort of alert that there was a random person walking around?
I don't think there was a random person walking around where people.
When I say random, I mean random to them.
Right. No, I don't think anybody was, to be honest with you. I think that he was not out. Sebastian was not out walking the street and running away like that.
No, it makes zero sense.
Not that. But as far as anybody that, maybe left to go chase or, whatever the case was on that part of it, no, they either knew where the cameras were and were being very, very cautious. But they wouldn't have known Sebastian was. So I think that's why, because I had a hang up on that flashlight that they said Sebastian took. Because I'm like, he has no keys to that flashlight because it's a key ring flashlight. I get he could have just held it by itself. But if he doesn't have access to the man doors with the keys, then I think that was brought up because I think it was an afterthought of, oh shit, we were outside. We had cameras or we had flashlights. And if they were to see that, so we're going to say Sebastian took his flashlight and he ran. He just, he walked out the door in the middle of the night. I think that was an afterthought for them to throw that in there, because, you know, I think they, you know, if she went out looking for him with a flashlight or whatever, then she's got to be able to justify for that, because she didn't know he left. She went in at 6 o'clock and he wasn't there, and here we are now.
Here we are now. And also, we have to look at what has been said from them, not me. This isn't my research. This is their life, that he is not supposed to be overstimulated per se. Well, he had a very busy weekend. Would he not be tired? Or would he be bouncing off the walls? And we also have to remember there is zero proof of life after the restaurant. None.
Well, and that's where I get a little bit confused later on in this that we're watching right now, because they do talk with Chris and Seth on there about they saw him take the trash can down, and both of them, you can hear Chris and Seth both say, but I know that Seth said it was a little grainy, and so it was hard to tell. But in this one, he does say yes.
And I can't imagine law enforcement showing Seth a video of someone besides his own son getting out of his ex-wife's car at the restaurant.
Yep.
I will do what I can as I can when I can.
I'm sorry, Seth, go ahead.
When did you speak with him, Chris?
What has that got to do with finding Sebastian?
If he's going to be our spokesperson, I was just asking when you spoke with him.
I haven't come up with an answer yet. We've spoke with him. We told him we'll get back with him after we've done some consideration and talking with law enforcement. We'll get back to him and we'll let him know our decision.
So,
I know you're on board with that. I do. I mean, I know you're 1,000% on board with Mr. Mathis. I got that. I'm not taking that away from you.
So Chris, I understand like every marriage is different, and husband-wife aspect. You seem very protective of Katie and her having conversations with or without you. But like I said before you came on, I do believe that Katie is the one who, and I'm not saying it's because she knows what happened to Sebastian, but she was the last person that was with him. And so she does hold the most information, at least up until the point that he went missing.
What information do you think she holds?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Well, then do me a favor. Let's just get to it.
Okay.
Don't pour gravy on the mashed potatoes. Just serve the stuff up.
Chris, I'm really trying to be respectful, and this is a very...
I am too.
I like gravy on my mashed potatoes personally, with some butter too. So he says, what does that have to do with finding Sebastian? And I'm sure you can respect that. I'm going to make it crystal clear. The last time he spoke to Sebastian is extremely important. It's extremely important. Because I have a feeling he had slim to no relationship with him, except for when Sebastian got in his hair about something. Then Sebastian knew he was around. I bet he couldn't tell you the last time he took him fishing. I bet he couldn't tell you the last time he took him swimming. We already know Sebastian was left out of a family vacation because Chris's parents considered him a handful before he was even diagnosed autistic, which either way, I could care less. They left him behind and took other grandkids. When was the last time he talked to him? To me, this is a very simple question, but all he wants to talk about is gravy on mashed potatoes. He's nuts.
So please just get to it.
Okay.
No,
so
you're
we would really love to hear from Katie about his body language that day. We've heard from others who are not necessarily good sources about his body language at the bowling alley and his body language here and there. And so we're just really trying to pick up on Sebastian's mood, because it could help us understand what led to him walking away off the front porch out the front door.
Well, that is something that if she decides to answer, that's on her. But what I know is, even on video, Sebastian was having a great day. He was in a great mood. He got to go to BJ's. He had a colossal popcorn. He hung out with family. He went and played video games at Strike and Spare. After that, he went and had dinner at Roadhouse, Texas Roadhouse. He ate his whole meal. I mean, everything in the video, even the videos that Seth has seen, he doesn't show any negative signs of he's upset or anything like that.
So then why did he just run away that night? These are their words, not mine. Great day, great mood, colossal popcorn, video games, Texas Roadhouse. Tons of fun.
I like how she snuck in that little jab. Did you hear that when she said when he walked out the door and got, stepped off the porch, and then she kept on going, because he's a jerk to her, and that's. But she's got a point. They're trying to establish, was he overstimulated? So if he was overstimulated, he would have had a harder time falling asleep. Maybe he did act out a little bit more, whether it was in the car after they left, whether it was at home if they made it home. These are very important questions.
100%.
And then Chris says, if she decides to answer those, why would you not? That makes no sense.
And he wasn't with them on any of the field trip.
No.
Only her. And I do believe law enforcement. I do believe that the TBI didn't request Chris to take a polygraph, because they believe he wasn't there. They can prove it. They're not just going to go off of what Facebook says.
Right.
I believe all the answers lie with her.
Yep.
And all she is doing is stirring up these two men. And the only thing they have in common is her. Because Chris doesn't seem to have any love for Sebastian. He seems to hold resentment towards him. It's like, I almost wonder if Katie didn't do something so she wouldn't have another child to care for. Because let's not forget, and I'm not going to get into birth control, abortion, anything like that. She did not want to have children. She had several abortions. Had it not been supposedly what they have said, she found out later she was pregnant with Sebastian, and Sebastian is, thank goodness, on this planet. I know some people go, well, why didn't she just take birth control? Hey, I don't care if you got 5 different contraceptives. We've all been there. Some of us, came out of the womb holding the pill.
Right.
He has had several pregnancies terminated. The only way you're going to prevent a pregnancy is with a Tylenol. You hold it between your knees. It's the only way. Well, I'm telling you.
The case isn't funny, but you are hilarious.
No, that's the truth. My goodness. All these things fail. Look, a baby get kisses. She said, I get pregnant with an IUD. Yeah. Nothing's 100%. We already heard today. We learned today that dogs lie.
Well, you know what? Good thing he wasn't around with that belt when he lied, because that dog would have probably got it too.
That's right, baby.
That's just now. When you know what, I would have said something like abstinence. You're like a Tylenol between your knees. It's just, I don't mean to laugh, but it is funny. And we do need that. We need that. So I apologize.
Oh no. We have to keep things as light as possible around here because here's the whole thing. We're talking about horrible, horrible, horrible things. So we're supposed to, these people are driving me up the wall. They're driving me berserk with their nonsense. And I see the person that is stirring up these two men as the one and only big ass there at the Harley shop.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, look. Just trying to get it. Do you see though how Chris does act different towards Seth? Like he like brings his tone down for the most part.
Yeah. But
Until
he knows he's going to be asked questions he doesn't want to answer or can't answer because he's got to deal with the wrath of this ass on the screen when he gets home. Hell, look at her arms.
Mm-hmm.
Look at her arms. Are you kidding me? She could be a lumberjack.
Yeah.
She's no wilting flower.
Well,
As
and
far as we all know, Sebastian had a great day.
No, I mean, it sounds like a really great day. I mean, they did a lot. I was just curious. And like I said, I mean, every relationship is different and you're protective of Katie and who she communicates without you. And I think that has,
for the record,
I think that has been a little bit difficult.
But right, hold on a second. But for the record, Katie can speak when she so chooses, and she's done interviews without me.
No, I'm not talking about interviews.
But she spoke without me.
Okay.
I want to clear up something that Chris said about Sebastian going to live with Seth. And Chris, you may ask, what does this have to do with Sebastian missing? It's all part of the narrative. It could mean he ran away. And that is, Chris, did you not say that he was not looking forward to going to live?
Either he's a mouth breather, meaning no ass. Either no ass is a mouth breather, or KP is whispering to him.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it? Do we have a Darth Vader on our hands, or she in the background? Because I'm hearing a lot of this.
I am too.
Somebody is telling him what to say.
Well, you can tell that here in a little bit because somebody asked a question and you can tell he went on mute or something. And then he needed that question repeated.
Because he got his no ass panties in a wad real quick when he goes, she can talk for herself. She's done interviews. There's the private investigator. I'm not talking about interviews. She's talked without me. She's talked without me. We're not talking about your ass. You weren't there, no ass. You were sitting on the crane, right?
Live with his father.
Yes, I did state that.
Seth, did you know this?
Nope.
Chris, do you want to elaborate?
And I'll tell you why.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will be glad to elaborate.
Become a question.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. I'm sorry, Seth. Start over. And then Chris, we'll go to you. Seth, go ahead.
But I know why I was putting him in online school. He needed his therapy to actually have been started with ABA, so on and so forth, before I put him back into the situation, because he's not ready for certain things.
Okay. So he was going to go.
I'm not going to set my son up for failure I want my son to succeed.
He was going to homeschool until he was ready to go back to regular school. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And it's not really homeschool. I mean, it's just online school.
Okay. Online, right. Online school. That's a better term. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said homeschool. Right. Online school. Totally different.
Really quick, Chris, the day that they had on Sunday with the spaghetti pancakes and bragging to family and BJ's and Texas Roadhouse and bowling and all of these, like, it sounds like the best day ever. Was that like a normal weekend for them, or was it like, I don't know. Was that like their normal weekend?
Right. Well, do me a favor. Let's pause that question because you just diverted away from what she asked, and let's clear this out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We want the facts. Let's get the facts straight.
Okay.
So yes, I did tell you Sebastian was not excited about going to his father's house because online school. Seth was aware of this because Seth stood in my house with me, Katie, and Sebastian in my kitchen and had this conversation where Seth asked his son about, you don't want to go to online school? And Sebastian's retort was, no, I don't. But I don't really care about playing tit for tat. I understand that this may be a reason why he wanted to run away, so to speak, if that's the case.
Right.
The balls of him saying this is why he wanted to run away, so to speak, because he didn't want to go to the online school. We also heard Noas say the word tit. So now we're throwing that out there. Well, now why would you run away if you don't want to do the online school? Why did they not immediately call Seth? He's publicly blaming him in a way here. Why on earth did Katie not call Seth right off the bat? I can't find Sebastian. Do you have him? Have you seen him? She calls Noas down in Memphis. What's he going to do 3 hours away?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead a little bit.
Yeah, and that right there is telling. But I think what Chris said is, I think he said, if we're going off the narrative that could be part of maybe a reason why he would have ran away. I don't think he was saying, that would be a reason for him to run away. That's just how I think I heard it.
Oh, he threw it out into the universe either way. It's been 2 months, over 2 months. We're not dealing with a runaway anymore. We're not dealing with a kid that got mad. We're not dealing with a kid that just wanted to go hang out with friends. No. And that condescending attitude.
But we're not going into this. We're not going to play this tit for tat on social media. We're not doing this.
Okay, Seth, go ahead.
Chris, unbeknownst to you, had already talked to Sebastian. He knew this wouldn't be a permanent thing. And me and him had already spoke.
Well, that right there is a conversation you should have had with Katie and myself about what your plans were.
I'm sorry. Do you want?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What Seth was saying is that if I had known the conversation that him and Sebastian had, then I would know the whole thing. But the downside is that's where Seth should have had that same conversation with me and Katie, and that didn't happen. But this goes right back to, here's the thing. If you're saying that because he didn't want to go live with his dad, he potentially ran away, is that a possibility? Sure, we'll put that out there.
Okay.
But quite honestly, what goes on between Seth, me, his mom, and our households is none of the public's business. If it had something to do with his disappearance, I would understand that, but it doesn't.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, I understand that. That's why we're making this clear.
And that's why I asked about his day.
Crystal clear. It's crystal clear to me right now. That's what Chris and Katie are worried about. We don't need this on social media. Earlier in the interview, if you want to call it that, because he tried to run it the whole time, he said he's alluding to Seth. He needs to quit playing the game. This is what is crystal clear to me. It is not about Sebastian. It is about what goes on behind the scenes. And a lot of it, they have slipped out themselves. Who is playing the game right now? We have a private investigator. We have the father. We have the stepfather. And we have that bitch in the background whispering to her husband. Who's running the show? Who's playing the game? What is crystal clear is that the Proud Feet, they're not getting any damn death threats. They are not getting any damn death threats.
And if they are, I don't think that they would be too. I mean, honestly, I mean, come on.
No, you threaten to kill someone. You tell them you're going to do something to their house or whatever. You're going to have someone knocking on your door. Hell, it happens on YouTube all the time.
Yeah.
No, that's what they're worried about. That's the reason you hear the pss, 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 pss in the back. So what is your takeaway of this? My takeaway, what's crystal clear to me, is they don't like what people are saying about them online. Well, I don't like what people say about me online, but hey, it happens. My takeaway also is that with the things that Chris has said, he wants to be the main man in everyone's life. He wants to be the one that, you know, people just shit and fall back in it when he talks. He wants to be the funniest guy with or without gravy in the room. Okay. Mm-hmm. He is jealous of Sebastian because he takes up a lot of his mother's time, as he should. I think he bullied Sebastian a lot, not because I was there, but because he has said it. He gives himself a big old fat pat on the back by saying, well, I've got to work and I've got to sleep. Well, what do you think Sebastian's doing right now?
Right.
Mr. Center of the Universe. What do you think Sebastian's doing right now? How well is he sleeping if he has survived all those cold nights with no food, no water, no anything? So what is your takeaway? What is crystal clear to you a little bit?
What's crystal clear to me is that this is the absolute 100% definition of a narcissist right here is Chris. And Chris is, I think, honestly, I think he's drinking. I think he heard something. I don't know what, because I watched it from the beginning. So I don't know what part of that made him mad, other than the fact that he was just drinking and maybe he just gets uglier and uglier. And then, so when he just thought he's going to get on there and he was just going to show his ass. And he got on there. He was being disrespectful. He showed everybody, you know, how he talks to women, how he does, you know, certain things. Compare that to Nancy Grace, compare that to other males. And I think the reason he and Seth do get along, or did get along so well, is because I believe that Chris saw himself above Seth, and that maybe he saw Seth, because, you know, narcissists are delusional, that Seth looked up to him, and Seth may have. Mm-hmm. But and so that's why he maybe doesn't do that with Seth, because he's not threatened by him. So I think we have a real narcissist on our hands that's not that should not have been on. And you're right, he heard a whole bunch of stuff, and this I know you'll get a kick out of, because when he talked about his parents going to Alaska, he said for 2 weeks because his stepfather on a job, and the mom went with him. But then, did we not see pictures shortly after that in another place with Snaggletooth? Right, and he doesn't right. So what he's doing is he's making all these excuses, but he's only bringing up half of what really did happen.
Yeah.
So maybe his stepdad did have to go put in some hours. So, okay. But what about what happened afterwards? And you're right. Why are they not here when their son is going through scrutiny?
Yeah, they went to Puerto Rico after they got back from Alaska. These aren't business trips.
Unless mom is a narcissist too. Yeah, look,
Yes.
you said Puerto Rico Dental Depot.
You didn't even bring up Puerto Rico. I mean, look at it. It's Shark Week in Puerto Rico. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Could you imagine those things coming after you? We know for a dang fact there's no oral going on in that relationship.
That one's going to go in my backyard and do something to the trees.
I'm
Chip
telling
away
you.
at the trees. But mom could be a narcissist too. I mean, but you know what? The whole thing blows my mind, and we have this child that's out there, whether he ran away, whether he was lured away, which we know it wasn't planned. I mean, Brooks, we all know, and it doesn't matter if he has autism or he doesn't have autism. When it's planned, he's going to take certain things. There's just specific things he's going to take. His switch, or something. He's not going to just disappear, or run away barefoot. It's not going to happen. And I don't know why some of these people are entertaining, like the PI or whatever. And I still think we need a presser with some information. It doesn't have to be, what needs to be, kept close to the vest or whatever. But people are spending their time, their money, their energy of going out and looking for this young boy, but yet law enforcement can't even come forward and say, hey, even we have gotten additional information, but yet we can't, just let us know something's going on. Because
I mean, they could even just put it in with one of the local outlets. I don't blame them for not having a press conference. This is just me, because in the hour it takes up their time, they should be investigating. They should be working on the case. I mean, it pisses the public off more when they turn on the microphone to say, "I've got nothing for you." Bama, I agree with you. He is so triggered by these women questioning him. Well, I know we've learned this. By the way, we did have someone call in. It's one of the search dogs that wants to get a message to Mr. Proudfeet. Why are you lying? Why the F you lying? What are you doing saying that the dogs are lying? The dogs are dishonest. The dogs don't know what's going on. The dogs.
That's the best. That's the best right there. Oh my God.
Yeah, straight from the dog's mouth. Why are you lying? Mermaid said, my dogs support this message. Yeah, the dogs want to know, why are you lying?
The police officers, usually use German Shepherds to do what drug, to sniff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they've probably been off. Maybe something was there but removed, so they can maybe still smell it. So when they look, it's not there. But they're not wrong most of the time.
That's why they bring more than one.
Exactly.
Not all the dogs are going to get together and whisper in each other's doggy ear and say, let's just screw this person over.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
13 to 18. Yeah, 13 to 18 dogs. That's a lot of dogs.
But he said this came out of the horse's mouth.
Right.
They said.
What an idiot.
That's what he said. And he was like, we don't know how honest they are. Well, maybe they should have the dogs put their hand on the Bible before they go search from now on.
Well, what was it? He said, not the Bible. He used the word, oh, shoot. What was it? It was so funny. I can't. He said, I'm not. He used a religion word instead of, I can't swear to God or I can't promise.
Oh, he said gospel truth.
What was it? Gospel truth?
He said gospel truth.
Yeah.
Well,
the dog should have done a gospel truth. That's for sure.
we should have done a gospel truth. I'm telling you. I learned so much out of that interview. One, I can tell that Katie is 100% stirring up these two men. If she keeps these two men like two goats out on the farm, you know how they lock horns and they butt each other's heads. If she keeps that going, that's less people that are going to ask her a damn thing. And that is what's crystal clear to me. Mama She, thank you for the super sticker. She said, Brooks, I've got pins in bulk. If you're in need for all the paperwork, yep, because I want to learn Jennifer Coffindaffer's ways, all the paperwork she did for Amber Alerts. What a shit show that is. Chloe Jade, thank you for the super sticker. She said, I trust dogs more than people, especially him. Love you, Brooks. Love you too, sister. Well, this has been a great show, and I think everything is crystal clear to all of us. I know some people say that Katie has nothing to do with what's going on. Well, she's the only one not talking. She could clear a lot up if she did her own talking. Let's have a big round of applause to our friend Little Bit, Avie, Pam came up, Angel tried to come up. Everybody putting their 2 cents in. Of course, all of you for being awesome. Well, I think this has been a very informative and crystal clear show. What do you think, Little Bit?
I agree.
We learned about a lot of stuff. All right, guys. Well, if I do not see you over in Discord or one of the Facebook groups, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Mod Squad, always you knocked it out of the park. And of course, all of you, you're amazing friends. And I just love hearing what you have to say about all these cases and how we can sort through it and just how ridiculous some of these people are. If I don't see you back, if I don't see you in, like I said, one of the groups, I have an echo, so it's confusing me. Then I will see you back here tomorrow morning. We're out, Little Bit.
All right. Bye. Thank you. Appreciate it.